Mr. Elliot Page, everyone, thank you very much.
My first, originally I was going to ask who was the most influential player in your promotion winning side here, but then you mentioned Tzemre Abbey, and my recollection was he effectively sort of went on strike. Well, that was the talk on the terraces. And I may be wrong, but I just wondered if you could sort of fill us in on
that. To be fair to Tzemre, he wouldn't sign. I thought he was with us. His agent came to see us, and his agent wanted him to be on the same money as what Martin Butler was on, because when Martin came here, we'd obviously, after 12 months, we realised that what he was giving us, and we gave him a fresh contract and an improved contract. Tzemre Abbey, we gave him he was here with us for about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, on trial. And we decided to give him a contract. And we gave him, I think we gave him a 12-month contract. And we thought he was with us, and we thought, I thought the fact that started his career again, because he was at Luton, going nowhere. We through Precy had spotted him, Precy and I went to see him. And the minute I saw him, I thought, he's going to be a player. He could be a player. He's got some ability. Let's get him in. Let's get him in with the players. See if he settles in. Because I'd heard that maybe there was a few problems with him. Why would Luton not want to have this player and the ability showing on the training ground? Why didn't he sign for Luton? So I said, come and train with us and we'll give you a fortnight. Well, we gave him a fortnight and then we gave him a month. And it went, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you another month because you're doing that well. And it was obvious, I think, to all of us, this was going to be a player. I gave him a 12-month contract. I think he signed the 12-month contract. And then I said, right, there's a fresh contract. We want you to sign this. And we like I say, we thought he was on our side because we'd reinvented his career and we'd started his career again. And the agent came in and he was the biggest bastard you've ever met in your life. And we just couldn't move anywhere. When I spoke to Reg Smart, and I agree with Reg, because I wouldn't agree with it, that we could not put him on the same contract that Martin Butler was on. Because Martin had earned it. He'd done his job and done his work. He'd scored the goals, and like I say, the best thing is, he moved on, and we made 750,000. Well, not maybe. I think it cost us £22,000, but we got 750 for him. So I was bitterly disappointed with Tzemre. I effectively left him out of the squad. It was not a nice period for me at that particular time because I thought we had him on board, and the agent came back, and the agent didn't have the decency to come back to me. I'd had all the discussions with the agent, and the agent came back to the secretary at the football club and asked to speak to the chairman. And he spoke to Reg, and Reg said to me, Norwich had put an offer in of £300,000, and just to let you know, Roy, we're going to accept it. I says, no, you can't accept it. I says, we've got to sign him on a contract, a longer contract. Let's keep working at him. Let it run its course. I says, don't take the 300,000 because I think he'll be worth more. It didn't work out for me in a sense because the board, and I was getting fractious with the board and what decisions they were making. And he was sold for 300,000, and I had nothing to do with that. Although I'm the manager, and yes, I knew eventually, to be fair to the chairman, he told me all what was happening and what the agent had told him. And I phoned the agent up and called him from a pig to a dog. And I said, can you reiterate what the chairman's told me? So he did. I said, right. I said, you thieving, sleazies, whatever. I can't go into those words, can I? And I never spoke to Tzemre since then. And fell out with him, disappointed with him, and of course he left the football club very soon afterwards, and we got £300,000, which, it's a nice chunk of money, but it's not what we needed. Losing Trevor Benjamin and losing, obviously, Martin Butler, it left a massive void.
Yeah, great. We'll come to you in a minute, Ian. There's a good point Elliot had. In that promotion side, who were the big characters in the dressing room? Who was the big influences?
The nice thing about it, bringing John Taylor back, he was a great influence on the younger players in that squad. And even to the senior players, you know, the ones who had been elsewhere and played a bit. Alex Russell, you know, who played in midfield. He'd been at Halifax, it not worked out there. He was at Liverpool Reserves, that's where he started, and didn't make it, and he moved on, and he did 1 or 2 clubs, and eventually he was playing non-league when we picked him up, and he came in. But everybody loved John Taylor. And the best thing about John, he didn't hold back. He told you how it was and what he felt. And you know, if Alex, you know, he'd say to her, Alex, I keep getting on the angle for you. You never put the ball in for me. What's the use of me getting on the angle on the back of the centre half? And you're not going to put the ball in there. So, you know, John had a strong influence with not only the senior players but with the younger players as well. But a character who came into the dressing room and had a massive influence was Lionel Perez, the Frenchman. His first game, he walks off at half time. He's having a row with Ian Ashby, and he's having a row with the other centre half. I don't know who it may have been, I can't remember now. But he's having a row. We come into the dressing room, and he stands up. They all sit down, the tea gets, I'm just about to talk, and he stands up and he says, in his French, Gaffer, I've got to say what I want to say. I've got to say it now. Okay, you say it, Lionel. What is it? He says, you not doing your job, and you're not doing your job as well. You get tighter than our centre forward in French. So nobody understood what he was talking about. I said, Lionel, can I just tell you one thing? Let's get it sorted out right now. I said, I'm the manager. I'm the one to tell him, and I'm the one to tell her what to do. Pull your socks up and start tackling and start winning the ball. All right?
Right, Ian, have you got to follow that, Ian?
I'm not quite sure I can. Personally, I feel that your departure from the club was the beginning of the downward spiral that eventually led us to relegation out of the conference. I'm not saying it was the whole thing, but at the same time, going back to that season that you left us, do you feel there's anything you could have done differently with the benefit of hindsight? Or do you feel that your hands were tied by things that were happening off the pitch?
I'll lead you into a little bit of something. Our first game away from home that season, I think we drew. We were away. Where the hell is it? It's down south. So, can you help? No? We were away, and I was delighted the fact that we'd scrambled, and I mean the start of the season, and we'd scrambled an away point, away from home.
Was it Bournemouth?
Yeah, I think it might have been Bournemouth. It might have been Bournemouth. We got a point out the game, and as I walked, you know, I'd been in the manager's office, had a drink with the manager, their manager, and then come out and walk into the bus. And 2 directors were waiting for me. I won't tell you who they were, but they came up to me and said, Roy, there's an envelope for you. He gave me an envelope, and it wasn't a brown envelope. I was disappointed. And I opened the envelope, and I said, what it said to the effect was that we're not happy with your conduct, blah, blah, blah. If this is repeated, then we will sack you. And it may well have been the first game. It's either the first or the second game of the season. And I thought, what's brought this on? I just cannot believe it. And, you know, I went to see the chairman, Reg. I said, what's this all about? He says, Roy, we've had a board meeting and this is what we've been decided. And I just sensed then this was not going to work out. And I got my own back by asking Reg Smart for a board meeting. And I asked every member of the board the reason why, and why they had problems with me. And who's the guy who bought this place? John Howard was the last one. I was waiting for that bastard, I tell you. I was waiting for that. Anyway, we got round to Mr. Howard, and he said, well, the chairman's done well. He sold Martin Butler, and he's got good. No, he sold Trevor Benjamin, and he got good money for him. And yeah, okay, and it wouldn't have happened without Reg selling him and getting that sort of money. You would not have got it. And we're not happy with this with you, and we're not happy with that about you, and so and so. So, I kid you not, I let him have it. He had the lot. And I told him what he was, and I told him what I thought of him. And I told all of them individually what I thought of them. And I made one major mistake, is that I swore at every one of them. I wish I'd have thought a little bit more and been a bit more composed, because the nice thing in the middle of it, Reg Smart, being Reg, said, Roy, be careful. This is the boardroom. I'm the chairman, and these are directors of this football club. Be careful with your language. Sadly, I wasn't careful. I kept on at all of them, and I spoke to them individually and told them all what I thought of them. And really, I'm surprised it took so long to February for me to lose my job. I thought I was going to lose it within a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever. But it was a hard, tough time after, I think, what I'd done and what we were doing, and bearing in mind we were about to, well, they'd forked in £2.5 million, and there was no thank you or well done. And it was a really frustrating time for me, and I thank you for what you just said there. I don't think it's wholly true, but there's little bits of it that might be true, so thank you for that. I didn't want to leave this football club. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time here. I was living down here at Hilton. I'd bought a house in Hilton. My wife had come down, so I was settled, and I wanted to manage here, and I enjoyed it. The sad thing is I didn't have a centre forward. You know, because John Taylor was at the back end of his career. He was coming onto the coaching side. We'd sold Butler, we'd sold Benjamin, and we'd sold Tzemre Abbey. And I really had no one else except for the likes of a young Tom Youngs, who wasn't ready for that just yet. And he needed time to develop. And it was probably the beginning of the end in terms of trying to get they wouldn't give me any money to try and sign a centre forward. And it was a difficult time for me, and a difficult time for the football club.
Excellent. We're getting on, so if you do have a question, make sure you stick your hand up. Can we have the next question? Ellie, again? Oh, no, Ellie, do you mind if we talk to Barry first?
Is that him?
Is that you, Roy?
No, I haven't got that colour hair. I've got white hair.
I mean, ages ago.
No, I think that's my younger brother. No, that's me, Ellie.
Go on then, Barry.
Would you kiss him, Ellie? Oh, choose you.
Roy, you played under various managers. What would you say you've taken, would be the best thing you've taken from any of those managers into a managerial career? Or what have you taken? And what would have been the best piece of advice that you've been given?
The best bit of advice, and it's not to do with winning football matches, because that's all we're here for. When Bill was managing and I've been managing, all you've got to do is win football matches, and you haven't got a problem. You haven't got a problem with the supporters, you haven't got a problem with the players, you haven't got a problem with the ball. And that's what football's about. Make no mistake, it's about, for managers, it's about winning football matches. What did I learn? The major thing that I learned from Clough and Taylor, the major thing I learned from Alf Ramsey, the major thing I learned from Don Revie, of working with, as a player, of working with those managers. was that the most important thing at any football club is the team or the squad, and how that team functioned, how it played was dictated by the manager, and more importantly, how the atmosphere was in that dressing room. The one thing that Bill will miss now, and I miss, is that camaraderie in the dressing room. The fun, the banter, but the serious side as well. That's all part of it. And the thing that comes out of it more than anything else is almost like, not Bill, not I being individuals, although we are, it's about the collective group. You can only win football matches with your team. And it's how strong that unit is, how determined it is, how set up it is, how it functions, what are the good parts of it, what are the bad parts, so we need to help that side of it. So what creates all that is the family group together. When I first, my first understanding of that was with Cloughie. We lost at home 4-2 to Millwall in my first season, and the team was evolving. Derby County was evolving. I signed for the football club. Kevin Hector was there. John O'Hare had signed the week before. Alan Hinton had signed, but we weren't a team yet because there was about 6 or 7 players in that squad and in that team. We were going to leave the football club within the next 12 months. And it did happen. But what happened, Cloughie walked in after the match and we thought he'd go berserk and what have you, and he just stood up and he says, "You lot," he said, "be here, ready, with your bags, 8:30 tomorrow morning, because you're going away for 3 days." And walked out. So we haven't even got changed, we haven't even got in the shower, it's like, what the hell's going on? And we had a, there's always a busy player. There's always a player who knows what's going on and what's happening. So, unbeknown to us, he's in the shower, he's ready, he's first out of the shower, he's towel down, and he wanders up to the office. And there's always somebody in the office who you can talk to and you say, "What have you heard? What's happening? What's going on?" So Alan Durbin walks up, he goes to the office, "What's happening? Where are we going tomorrow?" "Well, the bus has been booked, I know that." He said, "I think they talked about Blackpool." "Blackpool?" "Yeah, Blackpool. I think that's what was mentioned." "Oh, okay." So Alan Durbin comes back, smart-arsed, he's all ready, we're all toweling down, so and so. "Right, lads," he said, "you're off to Blackpool tomorrow, so get yourselves ready, bring your swimming trunks and everything else, and we'll see you then tomorrow." This is Alan Durbin. You know what? He was spot on. Where did we go? We got on the bus. Cloughie hadn't said a word. Taylor had not said a word. The staff haven't said a word. We travel up to Blackpool. We get to Blackpool, go in, and it's a bit cold and a bit wintry day, and you know what we're doing. Where are we going training? So Jimmy Gordon came round all the rooms individually and said, "The gaffer wants you to have breakfast at 9 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock he wants you all down in reception at 10 o'clock. With our kit on." "No. Just come down at 10 o'clock with your clothes on and be ready." "Ready for what, Jim?" I said, "I don't know. Just be ready." So we have breakfast, we go up, we put our clothes on, we've got our clothes on, we got a jumper on and what have you. So we come down to reception, and Cloughie and Taylor have both got bloody overcoats on. So we go out the door and it's freezing. And we think, are we going to a training ground or whatever? Have they set it up somewhere? He said, "We're walking along the prom." So we walk along the prom, up the prom, and I kid you not, it's blowing a bloody gale. So us not being prepared, not realising all we think we're going to do is train, we're going to go on the beach and train, we're going to go to a training ground, maybe to Blackpool's training ground, not that they had a training ground, but whatever. And we get there, and we're walking for about 2 miles along this prom. By the time we get to the end of the bloody prom, we are freezing, we're frozen. So we start walking back. On the way back, this is God's honest truth, there's an old couple walking along the edge of the pavement, and Brian, being Brian, "Hello, my love. Hello, how are you? Are you both here on holiday?" "Yes, we're having a break." "You know who I am?" "No, I'm Brian Clough, I'm the manager at Derby County Football Club. And where are you from? He says, well, I'm from the northeast actually, Brian. We're from so-and-so and so-and-so. He says, do you know what? So am I. I'm from Middlesbrough. Are you? So we're standing there and this bloody gale's blowing. So we start to walk off. Hey, you lot, where do you think you're going? Get back here. Look at these two on holiday. Look at them, lovely people. This time of the year, coming for a walk. Just what you just had. Get back here, you lot. Say hello to them. Hello, love. Hello, son. We get back to the hotel, and I kid you not, we are frozen. But we didn't train. We didn't train. And it was about getting us together, eating together, having dinner together, lunch, breakfast, dinner. For 3 days we lived inside each other and we talked about it and whatever it was. The next game, we're away. I forget where we went to. It was somewhere up there. It wasn't Blackpool, but it was somewhere else. And we won the game 2-0. And it was Cloughie and Taylor used to do those sort of things. We'd go away to Mallorca. We'd go away to Spain for 3 days at a time. And it was like, it was winter here. We went over to Mallorca, we went over to Spain, and the sun was out. It wasn't particularly red hot and warm, not sunbathing weather, but he used to make us go into the swimming pool and have a dip, and it was bloody freezing still, but the sun was out, and you got a bit of sun on your back, and it was great. But we lived together. The group lived together. Alf Ramsey. I actually I told the story in there. I spoke to my wife last night. London Zoo came on about the animals and things, and I'm watching it. I said, I've been there. She says, when have you been there? We've not been there. I said, no, I went there with England. Alf Ramsey took us there. Alf took us to London Zoo one afternoon. We used to go and watch the shows the night before a game, or we'd go to the pictures. Nobody, not even Bobby Moore, not even Jeff Hurst or Gordon Back, nobody was exempt. Everybody had to go as a group. Don Revy was no different. Just the same. Look after the squad. Whatever we did, we all did it together. So the one thing, and I've gone on probably a little bit too long about that, but the major thing is, the most important thing is the group mentality and the players respecting each other, getting on with each other, having a row with each other, falling out with each other. But the main thing is on that football field, when you cross that line, we were a team and we were together. That's what I picked up.
Great stuff, yeah. Well, quick one, very quick question, because we're coming towards the end of the time now. Do you want to take the mic round the back there?
So I was just wondering, what did you make on today's performance?
Well, I think I've had it done against me as what's happened in the second half when they're down to 10 men and the time wasting, which I think the referee knows what they're doing right from the start. The only way that game can change, I don't mean us win the game, how the game can change and how the referee can influence the game, is to make sure that they do it in the right manner, is to maybe book somebody probably in the first 10 minutes. Maybe the goalkeeper, maybe the left back who's taking the long throw and not throwing the ball, and maybe a free kick whenever it is. He's got to make an example of someone somewhere on that football field to make them hurry up. And if he doesn't, that's what happens in the second half. So 3/4 of the way through that second half, he's allowed them, then he books somebody late in the game. With 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, it's too late. And then they do quicken up, but they still take the time. And I think that's the only way that the referee can influence that game and give us, I think, a better chance of certainly probably having more football time. I thought we were a little bit scrappy. Bill and I, we've had a little bit of a chat about it, and I just think I'd love to have seen a little bit more football. I'd love to have seen an Alex Russell on the ball.
I'd like to see a few more shots.
Yeah, exactly. One,
One shot on target.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, sadly, you got in some good positions in front of goal and didn't hit the target, did you? No. Which, no disrespect. I think probably a John Taylor. I think probably a Martin Butler. I think maybe even a Trevor. I mean, Trevor was bloody wild at times anyway. But that type of player might have hit the target at least. The one thing we worked on was that the major thing. And then any football team will work on that. You've got to hit the target. If you don't hit the target, then you're not going to make the goalkeeper work, and you're just going to waste your time.
You've got to shoot.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought we got ourselves in. To be fair, they had the best chance of the game, and they put it over the bar. And it was, it could have been the Royal, slit the throat sort of time. But we got away with it in a sense. But I thought overall there was a lot of. But I wanted someone to just put the foot on it and just slow it down a bit. It was a little bit too. One dimension, a bit too direct. I know it was meant in the right purposes to maybe put pressure on them, but actually, the number of crosses that we did put in, we never really got enough on the end of them. Maybe not enough bodies in the box.
Quick one, yeah.
Roy, where do you think
Where do you think we might be going to next season? Because possibly today might have been the end of the playoffs, I don't know, but where do you think we might be going next season?
I'd say I hope you keep your manager, Sean Dyche. I mean that. I like him, and I like the way he wants to play his football, whether it's a little bit direct or whatever. It's the times and what it is. He's got a relatively youngish squad by the look of it. There's not too many senior players amongst it, so they'll grow into that. And I would hope that in the future, the experience. It's all about the experience that you have, and can you improve on that? And it's an old cliche in a sense that the older you get, then probably the more wise you get, and I hope that is true in terms of football as well. So the more experience you have in football, then the more you learn. And I hope those young boys out there will have learned from the experience of today. I hope that young referee, because he looked younger than the bloody players in the team, didn't he? He looked about 16, but I hope the referee listens and watches and will understand the feedback that he will get, because he'll get feedback from that game today, and hope he will learn from that experience. So it's about where you're going to be next year. The one thing is, I honestly don't think you're relegation material. I think if you can build on what you've got now, which probably this season it's a little bit too far away for you to get in those playoffs, the least you want next season is obviously to try and get into those playoffs with a bit of purpose of trying to get nearer getting automatic.
Brilliant. So say all of us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to call time there, but it's been an absolute pleasure, Roy. Been fantastic listening to you and fantastic having you here. Thanks so much for coming. And one last big coconuts round of applause, Mr. Roy McFarland.
Can I just say thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it. Now I know it's not been a great day for us, but I've enjoyed the day. I've enjoyed going into the boardroom again and seeing different faces rather than the bastards that I saw. It's nice to sit around a table with people like this guy on the right hand side. The history of this game, which I'll be part of it soon, but certainly Bill's been part of it in terms of he played in the cup final when cup finals were cup finals, and they were something to be admired at rather than probably what it is now. And thank you to you. I hope in the future you have the success, and certainly in the future I'll be back down here, whether being invited by you again or not. I'll come down and have a look and see what it's about. But given the chance, I'd love to come back, and let's hope in maybe a couple of years, 2-3 years time, if that does happen to us and we do get promoted, I'd love to be here. And thank you very much for inviting me.